It's the weekly show with David J. Maloney. This week, David talks to All-Star Major League pitcher Jon Lieber with this month's special guest band, Tyler Livingston and the Absolutes. Now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home and in our studio audience to The Weekly Show. I am your host, David J. Maloney. To my right, subbing in for the Mogiles, it's Tyler Livingston and the Absolutes. So according to the History Channel, St. Nicholas was voted the most popular saint in Europe. Tyler, you know who the most popular saint here is in the Gulf Coast? Drew Brees. In Thailand, the world's worst zoo is under fire after reports of depressed animals. Sadly, the Panthers are so miserable, they've been nicknamed the Carolina Panthers. Speaking of football, New England quarterback Tom Brady is showing signs of decline, which is bad news for the Patriots. They rely on Brady even more than they rely on their illegal cameramen. We're going to do this every time again, I see that. So 28 years ago, the first text message was sent by a 22-year-old engineer who texted the words, "Merry Christmas," immediately before driving over an embankment. This every time I see that. So did you hear about this? A Chicago strip club offered free lap dances to customers who donated a new Christmas toy this past holiday season. The toys were distributed to children whose father blew all their money on strippers. That's good. We need at least some guitar or something. John Legend has been named People Magazine's sexiest man alive. Can you believe that Bernie Sanders was somehow robbed again? I want to wish a belated happy birthday to Teen Mom 2 star Janelle Evans, who just turned 28. If you want to send a gift, she could use birth control. And this one's my favorite one, honestly. Sadly, famed Nigerian singer-songwriter Kehinde Lajadhu has passed away at the age of 71. Survivors say their inheritance is being withheld. But if you pay the taxes to release the money, a large sum will be deposited into your bank account. And lastly, Marianne Williamson has laid off her presidential campaign staff, but she does intend to stay in the race, according to campaign spokesperson Marianne Williamson. If you've never seen The Weekly Show before, we've got a great show lined up for you tonight. Our featured guest is none other than former Chicago Cubs, Pittsburgh Pirates, Philadelphia Phillies, and New York Yankees All-Star pitcher, Mr. Jon Lieber. And then closing out the show tonight, if we have enough time, we will end with a special David's Tips segment, sponsored, of course, by Maloney Lions, to chat about what to do if you're ever in a slip and fall injury situation. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Before his major league career, our first guest played college ball right here on the Gulf Coast. He was a University of South Alabama baseball player who truly left his mark in the big leagues. Please welcome to the show former Chicago Cubs, New York Yankee, Pittsburgh Pirates, and Philadelphia Phillies pitcher, Mobile, Alabama Sports Hall of Famer, and Major League Baseball All-Star, Mr. Jon Lieber. So John, let's just start off kind of at the beginning. What gave you your initial love of baseball? Was it, I know with me, it was my father loved baseball. And so a lot of times that's the way, it works for kids. Was it something that your family was really into, or did you find it some other way?
Not really. I believe, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I was just, I think like any kid at that age, they fall in love with the sport. If it's basketball, football, baseball. Mine just happened to be baseball. I love to just go out there. I think just just hit the ball in the yard and throw it as far as I could, and it was just something I enjoyed doing. It was never a goal of mine to get to the level that I did. I just enjoyed the sport, and the older I've gotten, I love the history of the game just as well.
Did you have a team that you kind of grew up supporting more than others?
I've got an older brother. He's 5 years older than me, and I kind of followed in his footsteps. So he was a big Dodgers fan, and so I was a Dodgers fan, and then it seemed like when I was 14, 15, or 16 years old, then I became a front runner fan. Who was ever winning? So I was a big Mets fan back in the late '80s. But the strange thing is, I grew up in Iowa, and it's Cubs country up there, but I was never a Cubs fan. So.
But then you ended up on the Cubs.
And then I ended up with the Cubs. Yeah, exactly.
So were there any particular players that you saw? I mean, I know there were players that I saw as heroes. Goose Gossage was one for me. Yeah. Who did you see as a hero when you were growing up?
Position player, I was a big Steve Garvey fan. I just love the way he played, and the way he went out there every day and just did what he did. And I think pitching wise, I was a big Nolan Ryan fan. Nolan's Nolan, and I don't think anybody's ever going to be better than him. So.
Now you played ball University of South Alabama, but you were from Iowa. How did that come about?
Oh man, so this is an interesting story. I don't think a lot of people know this, but I was out on the high school team. Wasn't really a pitcher. I was an outfielder, and had no scholarships to colleges. And we've got a junior college in our hometown, Iowa Western Community College, and had no intentions on going to school. My parents talked me into it, and then my mom mentioned to me one day. She said, what do you think about trying out for the junior college team? So I did. I walked on, played sparingly a little bit, became a pitcher my sophomore year. No scholarships to other schools, Division I, Division II, so forth. So I sent out letters, and I went to tryout camps at the age of, how old was I then, 20. Went to a tryout camp for the Mets, and this was like late June, early July. And the scout knew Coach Kittrell at the time, made a call to him. Ronnie Powell, the pitching coach, came up, watched me play, and offered me a scholarship, and really completely changed my career and my path and my thinking on mental toughness and how to be a better player anytime you cross those white lines. And I really give the credit to Ronnie to making my career what it is at the time.
And is that where you developed your pitches?
Yeah, it's crazy. I've basically been a two-pitch pitcher. It's just been fastball, slider, and the credit really goes to him to show me how to throw a slider. And that really excelled my 2 years at South Alabama. And then being able to control both sides of the plate, with both pitches, and just being aggressive.
Now, when you initially got called up, do you remember where you were?
Absolutely.
And just kind of, can you share with us that experience?
Yeah, it's like I said, it was never a goal of mine, to play professional sports. I was just going to play as far as I could go, but then you go through the draft process, and having success at South Alabama, and then you're having success through the minor leagues, and then you have your bumps in the road to where you struggle, and you try and overcome those, and then things seem to get better. And I remember I was in AAA at the time, and Buffalo, New York, and the manager, the GM, the two assistant GMs. Pete Vukovich was one of the assistant GMs. There's like 4 or 5 of these guys in this room, and they called me into the office, and I have no idea. I'm just a 23-year-old kid. Just what did I do wrong? So, and I'll never forget. Pete Vukovich at the time. He was a Cy Young Award winner for the Brewers, and great guy. And he looks at me and he's got that look on his face, and he just goes, "You think you know what you're doing out there?" And I said, I think so. He goes, "You really think you know what you're doing out there?" And I said, "I hope, I don't know." And I'm like, "What happened?" And he goes, "You're going to the big leagues." And man, that's just, it's just an emotional event. I remember, I can't remember who I called first. I want to say I called my wife at the time, Jessica, or if it was my mom, but, bawled like a baby, and, you still get emotional about it today, and it's pretty cool. And I wish every ball player could go through that. I really do.
We did a little thing here with the Biloxi team, and before that interview, I was actually sitting outside the stadium, and the players were coming in because I was going to do a batting practice little thing with them, and like you, I was a pitcher, which meant I was a horrible hitter. But one of the guys, he got now you get the call on your cell phone, mm-hmm. and he got a call, and he was just the tear and everything.
It's just because I think it takes you back to all the hard work that you have to go through, and all the situations that you've been in, all the right situations, the people that are behind you. You don't tend to think about those things until it actually happens.
We are going to be right back. We've got to go to commercial break, pay some bills. Tyler? And we are back with Major League ball player Jon Lieber. Jon, now, there's ups and downs that obviously all players have in their career. You got to face, injuries. Sometimes people get streaky, so on and so. But in '96, you were pretty much what you were the ace for the Pirates, no?
Well, I hate to use the word ace, but we were. I guess they were just a very young team. They dismantled that team after I think the 92 or 93 season. It's where you started to see a lot of the veterans move on, and so when I came onto that team, they were just really trying to rebuild.
Now, then you go to the Cubs, and here you're a Cubs. At some point you kind of became more of a Cubs fan, grew up kind of more towards that area. You had a lot of success there. Were you, when you got traded, were you excited about that, or were you, or?
I was disappointed. I felt like I really wanted to give more to the city of Pittsburgh, and I didn't fulfill that. And it was, and it was tough. Like I said, I think, teams really rely on veteran players to help bring the young guys in, and we were just kind of, we had a few veteran players, but it's tough to win on a daily basis when you're that young.
What was it like throwing your first shutout?
Oh, it was awesome. I was so close a few times in Pittsburgh, and I felt like I could have had that, with some of those games over there. But when you actually have a manager that's going to let you finish something that you started, that's a great feeling. There's nothing better. Well,
and the other thing is, like in 2000, you led the National League in innings pitched, right? Those are like CC type. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think of that when I think of. They kind of workhorse you, huh?
They did, and it was great. You had some bumps in the roads during the season or whatever. The numbers weren't that great, but my whole goal going out there every fifth day was to give my team a chance to win and keep the ball game as close as possible and go as long as I could go.
And then I guess in 2001 you were what, 20-6,
26,
right?
Yes,
and you
sir.
one hit the Reds.
Yep, probably the best game of my career.
How difficult, for viewers and how crazy difficult is that to be able to do? It's like almost everything has to be, the mental toughness to do that has got to be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's where you have pretty much everything working for you going out there every time. But yeah, you've got to believe in yourself first of all. That's the only way you're going to be successful in anything you do. Is if you don't believe in yourself and believe in what you can do out there, you're never going to accomplish on what you're wanting to do, I guess. So. And I give a lot of credit to my teammates for making that possible.
Because sometimes it takes a couple of great plays, too, to keep a no-hitter alive.
Without a doubt. Great teammates, good foundation around you, and obviously you're winning. A lot of good things can happen. Can
you tell on certain days, either while you're playing or even before you start playing, that you're going to have your stuff, that you're going to have, I mean, do you, like even when you're warming up, do you know on days that I got it today?
Yeah, but it's very few because it seems like the days when you are warming up and you feel great, that's the days you get hammered.
So you were also an All-Star that year. Were there players that you either played with or played against that had I guess the best way of putting it, that you were essentially in awe of while you were actually in the game?
I think it was just more respect. Like I said, I've always been a fan. And I've had guys sign stuff for me and whatever, and I know the big thing nowadays is people think they're going to get stuff signed and they're going to sell it, whatever. I've never had that intention. I've really have done it for my kids because they were so young when I was playing and when I retired, that I wanted to have something for them to give back to them and show them, say, hey, I remember when I got this bat signed or this ball, and I almost remember every exact moment on where I've gotten every ball signed or bat or jersey, and those are just going to be stories between us.
The nowadays you've got scandals with the Astros, with Boston, with sign stealing. As a pitcher, one of the things that I was thinking about as a pitcher, and then also from the lawyer gears running in my head, is that's got to be really, really unfair to a pitcher because what ends up happening is that's going to impact that pitcher's stats, and those stats are going to determine when they become a free agent what compensation they get. So when somebody's stealing signs like that, I mean, they're really impeding or impairing a pitcher's ability to potentially provide for their family in the future. In my eyes, everybody talks about the impact on the game, but I'm looking at it from a standpoint of the individual players. What are your thoughts on some of those things now, as far as this whole sign stealing thing?
How much time we got?
Huh?
How much time do we got?
We probably got a couple minutes.
The game's changed a lot since I've retired. I've been out of the game 12 years now. And it seemed like computers were really coming in probably the turn of 2000. I think it's a major problem. I think we've got some issues going on that Major League Baseball needs to really take control of. I think we talked about this earlier. We've got computer rooms 20 to 30 feet away from the dugout, to where hitters and pitchers can go down there and watch their at-bats, watch their pitches. I don't think that's true baseball. I think it's taken away from the aspect of the challenge of facing a hitter or facing a pitcher and knowing what they did to you your last at bat, if you know what I mean. So.
And the thing is from a pitcher's perspective, it's as much mental as it is physical. You have to,
Absolutely.
you have to know the batter, right? And then you've also got to, there's some, I don't want to say deception, but there is a certain amount of, a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
And it takes that away.
It does, and and then you go back to, the hitter having more of an advantage, and the numbers it plays into the stats. It plays a huge role because that situation where you have two guys on base, you give up the 3-run homer, and it's all because they knew what was coming. Compared to maybe a weak ground ball for the third out, that's three earned runs that you take off your stats. And
hurts team, hurts pitcher, hurts everyone. We will be right back after these messages. And we are back with Major League ball player Jon Lieber. So at some point you signed with the Yankees, and you had a playoff run there. I mean, obviously I've said over and over again, I'm a Yankees fan, but is it different playing there than playing anywhere else? Because I've heard other players say that it's different both from a fan perspective and in a lot of different ways.
No, it really is. It's an expectation that they strive for, every year, and that's to win the World Championship. No ifs, ands, or buts, and it's like that. So, but it was probably one of my best experiences being able to be a part of something like that. Probably. Let's see, I was there in 03 and 04. 03, I was rehab. In 04, I was with that team, and probably the best team, I played with, one of the best teams, and just really all down to earth, and I give a lot of credit to Joe Torre, at the time, and when you have a bunch of superstars coming in like that, a bunch of egos, and to get everybody on the same page of, hey, this isn't about you, this is about us and what we're trying to accomplish, and I think that's why a lot of guys want to go there, is because they want that ring.
That's one of those, like Sinatra said, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about the changes in the strike zone and
Hate it. I just, when I first came up in '94, the umpires back then, you came in, you knew exactly what an umpire was going to call. Okay, so the guy behind home plate, he's going to call everything inside. If it's 6 inches inside, he's going to call it a strike. But if you get 6 inches on the plate outside, he's not going to call it. So, the perception with umpires coming into a series was you knew what they were going to call the guys that were behind the plate. And I think hitters and pitchers understood that. I don't think you had that many arguments like you do today. And it's unfortunate when they went on strike that Major League Baseball stepped in and completely disbanded something that was obviously, I think was working, but I think it goes back to technology, and I think the fans were complaining, the Eric Gregg incident, with the Braves and Marlins, that was a little ridiculous, but I think what you're running into now is you've got guys that they're looking for guys that throw so hard and guys that just swing for the fences. It's turning into a softball league, in my opinion. There's no challenge, I guess, to it. I feel like guys like myself that doesn't throw 96 or 97 miles an hour, but I threw 91, 92 with movement and can control both sides of the plate. Those guys don't exist no more.
Well, I wish we could stay here all day and talk about this stuff, but that is actually our show for tonight. Apologies to myself. It's kind of like the Matt Damon thing. Apologies to myself. I have to cut my own segment, but I do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Ladies
Thank
and
you,
gentlemen,
David.
Mr. Jon Lieber.